Good day. So today we are going to be discussing lesbianism and the cotton ceiling. So this episode will just be a summary of what it is to be a lesbian and what is the cotton ceiling. Now, I'll be very amiss if I didn't mention and thank you all for your overwhelming support to the channel on the first video. I couldn't have dreamed of a better start to this channel, so thank you so much for sharing the video. Thank you for your tweets, thank you for emailing in, thank you for liking the video and also subscribing to the channel. Honestly, that was fantastic, so thank you so much for that. And to everyone who did leave a message on my previous video, fortunately I'm unable to respond to those comments due to a known YouTube issue. It's affecting just a very few people. Unfortunately, I'm one of them, but I have contacted YouTube support and they're currently looking into the issue to kind of resolve it. So hopefully it's not going to be happening for this video, but if it is, if you can see that I'm liking but not responding to comments, please know that it's just because of a technical glitch. But please don't let that, obviously put you off from writing down a comment. I will get and respond to everybody as soon as I'm able to, all right? Okay, so without any further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so today's subject is lesbianism and the cotton ceiling. So first, let's find out what a lesbian is. What are we? Where can you find us? I really don't know the answer to the latter, but I can tell you with 100% certainty what a lesbian is. I've been very lucky to have a special guest on for you today. Please welcome J.K. Rowling in the bath with some definitions. So if you're confused, I identify as J.K. Rowling and I'm in a bath. So really, I wasn't really tricking you by saying that, and I was 100% telling the truth. So I don't know why you're disappointed. I don't owe you passing as J.K. Rowling, so... Alright, so let's review 3 definitions, and please bear with me because I am not as practiced as Margot Robbie in this. But we're going to start with the word female. Of or denoting the sex that can bear offspring or produce eggs. Distinguished biologically by the production of gametes, ova, which can be fertilized by male gametes. Now I'm sure that this video will be stumbled upon someone who would believe that this definitions of the word female means that if you cannot bear any children, that doesn't make you a woman. I have had that argument with several other people on Twitter, only to be blocked. So here's a further explanation. Like it can happen with men, sometimes things can go a bit awry with the female plumbing, which means that a woman cannot bear children. That does not make her less of a female. Also, some women have chosen not to bear children. Because they're not bearing any children doesn't mean that they're not female. So it really doesn't make either woman less than female, because they typically would have an XX chromosome, and this is how we differentiate things a little bit. So I'm not going to be including any discussion about intersex people in this video. That will be its own specific video in the future. Unfortunately, we live in a world where biological facts are being denied right now, completely. And the meaning of words have completely been twisted to fit somebody's narrative. Now let me show you an example on how this is being done with the word female and sex. Now keep in mind that we normally can tell with a 95% or 99% accuracy the sex of a baby in the womb. However, sex is somehow still assigned at birth as opposed to being observed. Now I ask why. Why would anyone need to redefine the word very specific to exactly half of the human population here? Why would you want to do that? So if you do know, or you have maybe an idea, please let me know in the comment section, and I might probably find some answers as well. Okay, so let's go back to our guest for the next definition. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the definition of the word woman. An adult female human being. That's another word being bent out of shape, and to state its true definition is to be hateful. So let's have a look at a few mellow examples of this. Now I ask again, why? Why would people need to erase or redefine the word woman? Now this is what we're here for, so back to our guest with the definition of the word lesbian. Now let's have a look at the definition of the word lesbian. A woman who is physically or romantically attracted to other women. And that's it. It's that simple. There is no need to make anything even more complicated than that. And remember, if anybody tries to make simple concepts more complicated, either they do not understand these concepts either, or they're trying to confuse you deliberately. We're also known as homosexual women, same-sex attracted women, and it's literally just a sexual orientation. Which leads us to the bonus definition du jour. As per the Equality Act 10 S12, sexual orientation means a person's sexual orientation towards A. Persons of the same sex, B. Persons of the opposite sex, and C. Persons of either sex. So that is what a sexual orientation is. Being a lesbian is not a feeling. It isn't a haircut or a hairstyle. It isn't a shade of lipstick or nail polish or the color gradient on a flag. It is not the clothes that you wear or the things that you love to do in life. It is literally being born a woman and being attracted to your same sex. That is what a lesbian is. So back to your host, because I'm pruning and losing bubble just about. Oh my god, shut up. Now lesbianism has a very cool and fascinating history. But I won't be telling you its history right now, as I cannot yet do it justice, but I will as soon as I'm able to. Okay, so now that we know what a lesbian is, let's really iron out the creases and find out what a lesbian isn't. A lesbian is not there to help ease dysphoria. It is not a goal to pursue. It is not a costume or job title. It is not what you become if your husband decides to transition. And it's not some kind of lived experience. A lesbian is definitely not an umbrella term which includes assigned male at birth people, aka men. To believe otherwise is deeply harmful and homophobic. I know that coming across really blunt right now is not going to win me any favor. I might come across as very unlikable and not charming at all, like some popular YouTube content creators. But if I can show one lesbian that her sexuality needn't be inclusive and that she can say no, I really don't give a shit. We lesbians are stating our sexual boundaries when we say that we're lesbians. That means that we do not accept any male-bodied person in our dating pool. To try to change the very definition of our sexuality and try to bend reality is to remove our sexual autonomy and sexual boundaries, which causes harm to lesbians. Sex is a very vulnerable and intimate action that you should do with people that you trust. People have sex however they want, as long as there's enthusiastic consent. But it's okay to not want to have throwaway porn sex. It's okay to want to wait 6, 7, 8, 9 dates before you get intimate with somebody. Do not let anyone shame you for the sexual boundaries that you have created for yourself. Now back to the topic. A lesbian is simply a woman who is same-sex attracted. It doesn't matter if she's super feminine or super masculine. Wherever she sits on the gender spectrum, however she talks, holds herself, she will still be undeniably female. Even if she goes on testosterone for however many years, she will still be female, simply based on the fact that one cannot change sex. Lesbians come in such a wide variety of women, but here is what lesbianism isn't. I'm sorry, but a feminine straight man isn't a lesbian. If a man has got dysphoria and wants to transition into a woman, he can do so. That's not a problem at all. But he will never be a lesbian. Lesbianism is rooted in sex. One cannot change sex. Lesbianism, by definition, is non-inclusive. It purposely and actively excludes any male-bodied people and women who are attracted to the opposite sex, no matter how they might be feeling that day. So it's literally something that will never be attainable by a person who is born male or a woman who's attracted to males. And I have seen very strange claims to lesbianism and very strange support of these claims by some lesbians in quotation marks, are supporting these claims. So let's have a look. With people trying to redefine the word lesbian to make it all inclusive, now we get situations like this. Would I be the arsehole if I asked out a lesbian? Yes, you would. For context, I'm a bi man, so I know there are bisexual lesbians, and some of them just call themselves lesbians. Please don't be biphobic and invalidate their identity on this post. Lesbianism There's a really hot girl who calls herself a lesbian, but I don't know if she's a full-on lesbian or a bi-lesbian. Would I be the arsehole if I asked her if she's a bi-lesbian and asked her out? She identifies as a lesbian, but has never said she's homo-romantic homosexual. Like, what the hell does that even mean? As we have seen, many male-bodied people who have transitioned have claimed to sleep with lesbians, therefore they are lesbians. Wrong. You slept with a bisexual person who didn't know she was bisexual. That lesbian just didn't know that she was attracted to a male person unless they were hyper-feminine. That's all. And if you want to get salty about this, please do it in the comment section. It needs seasoning. No, seriously. Please let me know in the comment section if you agree that a man can be a lesbian and why. Now, one of the people that I've come to respect on Twitter said the following, and I think she pretty much hit the nail on the head. A pair of breasts, pretty dresses, nail polish has never made a woman. A male's straight hips, hands, legs, etc. will always give them away. Putting on a dress has never made anyone a woman, just as dressing in a masculine fashion has never made anyone a man. And the people who are trying to convince us otherwise are only fooling themselves and no one else. This leads us to the cotton ceiling. What is the cotton ceiling? It's a term coined by a trans rights activist by the name of Drew DeVoe. It's from the term glass ceiling, which is pretty much an invisible barrier. For instance, maybe a colored person would have a glass ceiling when it comes to career progression. So it's kind of like they have all the hallmarks for being a leader and experience. However, they can't quite nab that promotion because maybe of racism. So it's like a barrier that is kind of unspoken, invisible, so to speak, that will impede somebody's upward progress. So the cotton ceiling is just the objections lesbians would have as to why we would not see trans women as a viable sexual partner. Now, such objections will include not liking penis or having penis repulsion, which that is a very popular one with us lesbians. It also include loving eating pussy, which is another very common one. But it also includes having past trauma involving penis and men, and any other reason a lesbian would say no to a trans woman in the bedroom. Now, any fairly decent human being would probably take a no or even a non-enthusiastic body language as a, okay, maybe I tried, but I'll step back now. But no, plenty, it seems, will be far more interested in breaking these barriers to try to get to sleep with them. So much so that Planned Parenthood in Toronto held a workshop for men to learn how to overcome the cotton ceiling and learn how to break the sexual boundaries of lesbians. The workshops: Overcoming the Cotton Ceiling, Breaking Down Sexual Barriers for Queer Trans Women with Morgan M. Page. Overcoming the Cotton Ceiling will explore the sexual barriers queer trans women face within the broader queer women's community through group discussion and the hands-on creation of visual representations of these barriers. Participants will work together to identify barriers, strategize ways to overcome them, and build community. Open to all trans women and male assigned at birth queer gender folks. So men learning how to completely violate the sexual boundaries of lesbians. And these people are protected by law. Let me put this into perspective. If you're a straight woman watching this, it's like me attending a workshop designed to actually play you, to get you to sleep with me. Now, if you were to tell me that you were straight, that would be enough for me not to even try anything with you ever. But now imagine that I, in secret, booked myself a little workshop with the aim to specifically break down your sexual boundaries. How would that make you feel? The seminar will be designed to teach me how to manipulate your feelings, what words to use, what moments I should use these words, or to get you to sleep with me. As a straight woman, that would just be unacceptable. Now, I was doing some research to see actually if there was like lesbian workshops specifically designed to teach lesbians how to break the sexual boundaries of straight women. To be fair, I was kind of relieved that I didn't find pretty much anything. I found more information about straight women, teaching straight women to sleep with lesbians or men to sleep with lesbians. But to be fair, I only came across one really dodgy article written in 2012, which I will link in the description below, and it's pretty awful. It was written by a lesbian, just to show you that no group of people is perfect. And it's titled, "Why Chasing Straight Women Still Thrills Me." Now, as the title suggests, it's written by somebody who obviously doesn't give a shit about people's sexual boundaries. Or maybe it's me. Maybe I'm being over dramatic about this. I know that when I tell a man that I'm a lesbian, I don't want him to try anything after that. So if you're a straight woman, tell me in the comments, would you mind if a woman came onto you after you specifically stated that you were straight? Wouldn't that bother you? I'm just very cautious when it comes to sexual boundaries and things like that. Alright, so back to the cotton ceiling and how the sexual boundaries of lesbians are being barraged into and challenged by a mob of trans women and LGBTQIA plus allies. Now we'll have a look as to what the cotton ceiling looks like. And I want you to pay attention at the timestamp as well as the insults being thrown at lesbian women for simply saying no to male-bodied people in the dating pool. Now, this is a warning that the following will include very graphic threats of violence and sexual violence and death threats, and that can be quite triggering. I will include later during editing a timestamp where you can just fast forward to. What I will read you is pretty safe, but I do want to really show you what has been happening to the lesbian community since pretty much the turn of 2015. If you're a straight man watching, I want you to imagine that these are the responses that you've received after saying no to a trans woman or saying no to a gay man. And then if you're a straight woman, I want you to imagine that these are the responses that you receive after you've said no to a trans man or no to a lesbian. Why would she admit so readily to being wrong and have a boring sex life? So sexual attraction is not innate or immutable. I hate cis lesbians. Cis gays should be bullied. Cis lesbians should be eradicated. Literally every single one of them is transphobic. And I'm sorry, but physically cannot be attracted to is hilarious. Are you attracted to chromosomes then? Imagine being so shallow, stupid, and petty that you boil down your attraction to people to simply whether they have a penis or a vagina. Trans men are men and trans women are women. It's not a hard concept to grasp. Fuck you, you turf bitch. How can a 15-year-old be so fucking bigoted and transphobic? I can't believe you don't think that I can be a woman because I have what the fuck? You won't be saying my girl isn't really female when I'm using your young turf as a dump. You will bow to my girl. You will choke on my girl. Fuck you. Dating isn't about genitals. These people are sick. Have you considered going to therapy for getting over your aversion to dick? They can help you analyze how that dislike comes from deep prejudice toward trans people. You can't keep posting about how much you dislike dick forever. At least keep it to yourself until you get help. Saying you don't like dick is a reason trans suicide rate is high. Full stop. If you ID as a lesbian and you do not include trans women in your attraction, you are a trans misogynist. It does not matter if you have trauma with men, because trans women are not men. It does not matter if you don't like dick, because some trans women have vaginas. If your trans-inclusive lesbian attraction includes assigned female at birth non-binary people, but not trans women, you are not trans-inclusive. You are a trans-misogynist. Sometimes it's not a matter of who's valid and who isn't. It's a matter of, are you excluding trans women from a community they belong in? And your baseline of not being into trans women is trans-misogynistic if you are attracted to cis women. People aren't attracted to purely genitals. Gender preferences are understandable, but genitals aren't gender. Having a genital preference, even if it stems from race, is wrong and transphobic. Lesbians should be on a TERF list because they're stuck-up cunts who prioritize their orgasms before the need for love trans women have. So then, what do I do if I'm only attracted to vaginas, the female sex? Legitimate question, because that's how I'm biologically hardwired. What you do is heal yourself. Be attracted to whoever you like. Saying you're a lesbian because you don't fancy men or women with male parts makes you a fucking asshole, a TERF, a transphobe. And I'm ashamed you are part of the LGBTQ community. You are just an ignoring If you're cis, your dating preferences are probably transphobic. Please work on that. But also, not by dating a trans person you're going to treat like shit to make yourself feel better about your own transphobia. Terms like gay and lesbian to imply attraction to the same sex gender are actually really transphobic. Think about this seriously. Nobody is forcing you to date a trans person, just like nobody is forcing you to date a black person, a tall person, or a person living with a disability. But to categorically say that you would not date someone because of unchangeable attribute is prejudice. Do better. 100% agree. Cis lesbians have created an awful anti-penis culture and it's extremely alienating. So tired of cisbians who say lesbians don't like lady dick, to be honest. Just wanted to let you know you're a useless fucking cunt. I hope you get hit by a car and don't reproduce so that you won't pass your fucked up ideas of hating trans people into future generations. Pray that you never meet me walking down the street, you dirty fucking cunt, because I'll slit your fucking throat and fuck your newly made neck pussy, you fucking trash. Kill yourself, you nasty fucking hole. You're a disgrace to the LGBTQIA plus community. That is not what we're saying. What we're saying is that it's transphobic to equate trans women to their genitals and then turn around and use toys that more often than not look and feel the same. I hope you fall in love with the gorgeous trans woman and then once she takes off her skirt and you see her dick and try to tell how about sex matters, she'll already be choking you out. Lol. I'm glad you don't want to sleep with trans women. They're too pretty for your fat ass anyway, sweetie. Don't be so mad. I hope you're in the face hard enough to break your jaw. How does it feel to be such a bitch? You're disgusting. There's literally nothing wrong with penises. It's just like you that make trans women kill themselves, so I hope you do the same. If your lesbianism does not include all women, then you're not a lesbian. Shut the up, transphobe. Get your ass by a fucking dildo and stop being a transphobe. Because literally all a vagina is an inverted penis, and a penis is just an outward vagina. There's differences, but they're literally minuscule, like an inwards or outwards belly button. Now, how would you feel if these were directed at you because you said no to someone, specifically because you were not sexually attracted to those people? I tell you, that was just really hard to read out loud. So just gonna ask you, was it hard to hear? What if I told you that these were just a few examples for this video. I have hundreds in a folder. There is also a website, which I'll be linking the link below, that has even more receipts like this of the trans community harassing lesbians and gays because we are homosexuals. And the reason why many of us keep receipts is because you'll always get a guy like this coming around and saying like this. Some people will probably look at this video and think, oh wow, this is such an attack on trans women. How dare you transphobe? You're making the community look bad. Now first, the trans community and its allies are making themselves look bad. I didn't write these tweets, but I'm just showing that to you to expose them. Second, I've never had a problem with trans women. I've never had a problem with anyone who decides to transition to alleviate gender dysphoria. As a matter of fact, the first time I was exposed to the idea of a trans woman being a lesbian, I really did not reject the idea. I was like, oh yeah, of course there would be. I mean, every other trans woman that I came across was same-sex attracted. And that was pretty rare. And my logic was, a straight trans woman would be even rarer than a trans woman who is same-sex attracted. So why not welcome them in the community? Honestly, that's what I thought. That was a mistake. Then shortly after that, there was an explosion of straight males transitioning into women. And then there was an influx of transgender posts on the lesbian subreddit communities advising lesbians that trans women didn't need to have dysphoria to transition, they didn't need to owe passing to anyone, they didn't need to take hormones, and that lesbians should still regard them as viable sexual partners because they identified into womanhood. So these are the people I'm exposing. These straight males who found loopholes in gender dysphoria and transitioning to gain access to women's spaces and lesbian spaces. These are the people who, rightly enough, we do not want in our spaces. People who do not respect your sexual boundaries and will try to emotionally manipulate you are not people you want around you or your loved ones. With this said, I want to clear up any ambiguity in lesbianism with these common questions. Do lesbians have penises?
No.
Do lesbians like men sexually?
No.
Do lesbians like penises?
Fuck off, no.
Do lesbians use contraception to avoid pregnancy?
No.
Can a same-sex lesbian couple conceive a child?
No.
Do lesbians have to accept a male sexual partner to validate their feelings?
No, fam. Nah.
Do lesbians have to reframe their trauma and accept a male sexual partner?
No.
Are lesbians bisexuals?
But no, though.
Are lesbians not sexually attracted to women?
No.
Are lesbians transphobic for not wanting to date a trans woman? No. Do lesbians need to reflect on not liking penises or men?
No. No.
Does the strap-on feel the same as a real-life piece of erectile tissue?
No.
Is a penis really an inside-out vagina? Right, well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Listen, be whoever you want to be and sleep with whomever gives you enthusiastic consent. But please don't harass and insult lesbians for not accepting male people in lesbianism. That is what lesbianism is at its core. Male-free. I swear Sappho will be turning in her grave right now. Now, if you're lesbian, gay, or bisexual and you feel like your sexual boundaries are not being respected, please contact me and I'll make sure that you're assisted. I do have a couple of safe spaces that I can introduce you to. Please get in touch. So whenever you hear a male claiming lesbianism, just drop this. And I know by doing this, that people who obviously will not like what I have to say, I will be thumbed down, which is not very good for the channel, but as long as that message is put across to leave lesbian alone, I think I could handle it. Lesbian is taken, find something else. You literally have so much experience making up bullshit. I'm sure you can make something up for yourselves to be a little bit more productive. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, alright, if you haven't already. And I shall see you in the next video. But not before wrapping up with this short clip from the 2019 YouTube documentary called Are You Proud? Which might hold the answers as to the questions that I've been asking here. Why?
Trans pride is different because it's talking about gender rather than sexuality. It's quite challenging to LGBT people because if gender is on a spectrum, then homosexuality doesn't really exist because it can only exist in a binary. So when it comes down to it, it's just two people or maybe three or whatever loving each other, you know, it's nothing to do with sexuality, and sexuality is redundant.